So we talked a lot about Michael and Maria in our original conversation about making a difference for people and whatnot. And influencers do that and more. Sometimes they come in a second, right time, right place, right moment. Sometimes it's a lifetime. And really quick, a story from me. My first influencer, probably major influencer, was my grandfather, who came from Kiev, my grandmother too, and whatnot. And I kind of tell the story when I speak. And one day I said to him, I called him Zeta. I said, Zeta, how do you know all these people? We were walking. He took me for walks at the park when I was 5 years old or 6 years old. And he talked to everybody. How do you know all these people? And he said, well, one day I just smiled and the guy smiled back at me. And then another guy came up and then they started talking to me and smiling at me and da 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 da. And they were influencing each other almost when they were doing that. So, and then as I got older, I understood it even more. So, and there's plenty I'm sure you both have had, but can you give a couple of influencers each of you have had that have made an impact on your life?
Sure. So I'll actually almost copy with you in some way. My grandfather, who came to this country with my last name to compete in the LA Olympic Games. We were always and still am very proud of him. But when I got to know him as a young kid, and again, you're a kid, you don't realize it. I can think back of how nice he was to people. He always stopped and said hi to everybody, and he was a hero in his culture, in his in this town that he was now living in Michigan, and he would stop and talk, and you'd see that side of him, and all. Of course, my parents. You mentioned Smile. It's difficult for me to hear that song "Smile" and not tear up about my mom, because she loved that song, and she would say a lot of times, she'd look at you and say, smile, and all. And my father, I think I shared with you before, my father taking time out of his day and his week to go help others. And as kids, we really didn't understand that, but that's a big one. I mean, I'll add to that too. I think our children are big influences for us. My son is just, he's just always hustling. Got a great heart. Our Andrea, the baby, always positive, optimistic, smiling. Vanessa, very purposeful. She works hard, but she plays hard. She's very structured that way. And you think about it and think, that's the way we should be. Get off the stupid phone for a while and enjoy life, and go and travel. And then Jessica is, she just has this way about her that like lightens up a room. She really can be that. And so the kids, it sounds strange, but they're influencing us as well. And of course, I'm going to take this time here. I've had teachers that are special to me. I had a teacher in high school, Colonel Beach, that I could tell a whole story about how he influenced me in my life. And friends, I go on. I mean, you talk about friends influencing, you sort of think, how does that play? But I have a few friends that I can call, that they call me, and we just, as we say, just BS. We just talk. And if something's going on, we can share that with them, and they're just there. They give you their ear, and you give them their ear, and you think about, does that influence you? It really does. It can change your day, on that.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
So to me, I would say my mother. My mother's a very strong individual, and when I think back what she did, she came to this country in her 20s with 2 young kids and didn't know the language, didn't have anything. We came on vacation supposedly and never went back. Talk about being strong-willed and a fighter, and she always provided for us. And the only thing she ever, stressed, education. She really didn't care what you studied, but you had to have a degree. That's all she wanted, and she had her degrees. She came with her degrees translated to the United States, to English. And I'll tell you, there was one individual that Michael and I know, he actually married us. And he was such a huge influence for me. And I remember when I was leaving from working with him, And I had turned in my resignation and nobody believed it. And I said, you know what? I'm just not gonna do anything. And I'll never forget. He said to me, Maria, continue to do your best, because in the future, you never know. You know, life is full circle. You may come and upon these individuals again, and you always want to leave on a high note. And you know, he moved away. We were still friends. We maintained contact. And he actually passed 2 weeks ago,
Oh, wow.
which was kind of sad for me. It was,
Sure.
because I mean, Peter was amazing. And I smile whenever I see anybody, because you never know what battles somebody is fighting,
100%.
you know, and it doesn't cost you anything to smile. And I've had people come up to me and say, you don't even know me, and you're nice to me. And it's like, you know what? We should all be nice.
Yeah, that's beautiful, both of you, and what you said there. Because people should take 25 seconds before they judge people right away, because you never know what's going on with somebody. And so, yeah, Michael, you going to say something?
Well, I was going to say it, and probably, well, not probably, the biggest influencer in my life is the lady next to me.
Nice move. Good job.
I'm not saying it because she's sitting here, but we're best friends, and we've been through a heck of a lot.
A lot.
You know, but that's what, you know, builds the relationship, you know, and all.
Yeah.
And you know, when somebody's that important, they can actually, you know, I guess all of us to some degree are stubborn or set in our ways or whatever you want to call it. And I have mine where I do that. And we've had some times where I'm definitely doing this. And she sits down and explains it to me. And guess what? I do 180, you know. So I realize what I'm doing. What I'm doing. Now, I don't do the same with her, because I didn't know. But it's interesting. And you know, that's one of those questions, Mark, that we should think about more often, and ask each other more often. You know, who influenced you and why? You know.
Yeah. Well, I'm appreciative of all the people that you guys influence too, including me, and your thoughts of smiling and kindness and whatnot. They're more powerful than I think anybody even recognizes out there. So let's keep doing it. Thanks so much for sharing.
Thank
Great.
you.
Great. Thanks, Mark.